Good morning YouTube. Hope we're all doing well. Okay, we'll make a start here in a sec. Okay, let's make a start. Need to sort out some music for the stream. Can't remember the one I used to listen to. What the hell was that called? I'm not too sure. Right, we'll wait to see if a few more people join, then we can start to do some analysis. But we could potentially see some downside today on GJ. We've already started to see rejection of our resistance formed from Friday. So we could see a bit of downside push here in London today from a session trading point of view. We'll be sensible because right now there's no opportunity to take buys at this stage. Not until we start to see certain things happening at this point. Because more than likely this pullback here has created our, again, lower structural resistance level. Now we're starting to push back out from this main zone. So pretty much now we're starting to see 4-hour candles closing back below this zone. We've got clear targets to the left that was created outside of this zone. So it does give us a little opportunity to potentially take sales today, coming down to what 182.800s and then down to 182.500s if the opportunity is there. You know, and if you look at that from a daily standpoint, more than likely going to have a daily candle looking something like this. For Monday, we could see something like this for today if we get the certain things happening, because as long as this area here is respected, lower time frame, then in fact, yeah, it makes more sense to see some downside currently, because we're not respecting this main area here that pretty much held all of this up. That's why we had this support formed. So now it's starting to close below. We spoke about this from a weekly outlook last week. HTG members, no, I did. Spoke about we need to see dailies closing below the 183 that come back, that fail. So I think today we have a little opportunity to take sales down to sort of previous lows of the week, last week. But it's still going to be a bit tricky, because ultimately we're still very, very bullish monthlies, you know, so be more than likely just small opportunities to take trades. But we'll see. How's everyone doing today? Hope people are doing well. Just can't for the life of me remember the music that I used to use. How are we doing for news today? Let's have a look at the news. No, we're good for news. We are good for news today. But remember, we got CPI this week, got Bank of Japan, so quite a bit coming up. But yeah, I think if we start breaking down below here, lower time frames, if we start to see lower time frames closing below this level, we can then look to take some options pushing down at that point. Reason being is mainly because of our rejection of our higher time frame over here during Asian. Ultimately, you would have looked to have got better entries there, but I don't trade Asians, so we now know that the final push of the move is anything coming this way, and then pretty much once you get down to like 182,800, it's just a case of whether we're going to continue that overall move to fill the Thursday's daily low and continue that. So, but mainly we're starting to see now, like we said, a rejection of your high time frame level. We're now starting to, we saw 4-hour candles closing back below the 183. If we then create that resistance that breaks down, we then have opportunity to target what's to the left. That would make sense. But right now there's no really opportunity for buys, because we've seen what's happened as we've pushed up. We've come back to our area of resistance from Friday, Thursday, and we failed again, and now it's starting to push back through. So yeah, you might see a little bit of upside and you think, oh, is it buys? But realistically, we can easily get hammering at this level again that fails and that comes back. So right now there is no opportunities for buys, really. We don't even have any 4 hours giving us anything substantial. You know, we had the opportunity to close back above 183 to see if we can continue and break this resistance. We failed. Now we're clearly creating a range and obviously closing back below our key zone. So in theory, we could see quite a heavy downside in our session today. But yeah, it's nice to be back on YouTube. Let's have a little look at GN. Yeah, GN given similar sort of The GN's sort of already done the push to the downside that we spoke about. Well, me and the members spoke about last week. GN downside need to be once we start to see targets formed and broken. So it kind of happened in Asian Wednesday, Thursday. But yeah, right now there's not really much opportunity on GN. It's kind of at this tough area within this daily zone, so you could see a bit of a range here. But yeah, GJ makes most sense at this point. TN's in a bit of a terrible spot, and then gold looks pretty good for continued upside back to the sort of 1940s, 1950s, because basically as long as we stay above the 1900s, very likely that we're going to continue up. You can see our 4 hour is closing above this resistance to the left. Okay, we can see that. So pretty much if we create support above there, you know, then we have an opportunity to come up to 1933. Yeah, but we need to respect this structural support here at the 1923, because this is what's created our move to break through, so we could easily pull back to there before continuing up. So don't just get carried away. If you see 130-minute closing here, you'll very much see big heavy downside that comes back to this area that ultimately then looks to respect and continue back this way. Okay, similar with GJ, that is pulling back to the resistance that created our breakout. Alright, but yeah, so that's what I'm looking at really with gold. And then GJ, we're going to see if we can get a little move here, maybe in 7 minutes. See if we can look for some opportunity, because pretty much if we break this support, so from the start of the day we clearly had this support down here, right? We've come up, we create a resistance, cool, pull back, we've now created this higher structure of support on the hour. Okay, we know that once that's broken in effect, and then if it's respected lower time frame, 5 minutes, etc., we can easily see push to the downside. Okay, so that's pretty much what we're waiting for, what I'm personally waiting for. Obviously we could see the hour still close bullish, so that's why we're gonna, once we see a 30-minute, we have to see where we close, because if we clearly close outside this range, there's a very high chance we're going to continue down at that point. And yeah, I think we can play down to 800s to be fair. What's this range saying? Yeah, I mean, it's not even that big of a range. It looks bigger than what it is really, but I think 785 is going to be the target. That'll be around the target. Yeah, we got like 5 minutes, so we'll see. Okay. Yeah, we're clearly starting to break down at this point. We have to wait for the counts to close, right? but we may not close below the range yet. We don't know. Yeah, wait and see, because the one little area we've got to be careful of on the weekly is down here. So this is why we're going to be selling. We do not want to be getting caught out pretty much in this area here, roughly sort of between 182 200 and 182 500 ish. This is where we could get reaction before seeing things like this. So this is why if we're going to take sales, we take sales down to that area, not selling at that area, because selling on top of this on that weekly zone is going to be a problem. We saw that's where we tapped last week and ultimately pulled back. So now we need to see more resistance to see if we're going to close outside of that range. Okay, so that's why when we're going to take these sells, our opportunities will be to continue down to Friday's low, Thursday's low, and be done, because ultimately we don't really know if we're going to get dailies closing way down over here yet. We don't know that if we're going to get that on the daily. It looks like we are, based off of the way that we're creating structure, we're closing back, this and that, but we could easily still see pushes back to the upside, because overall in the market we're still very much doing this, heading up. But clearly buys are not a factor yet. You know, if we start to break this low, previous 4-hour low, it does make sense. Yeah, currently staying above. Yeah, if we can break below this level, could have a decent little sell. Oh, thanks for the subscription there, SP Chili Silly. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, we're back on YouTube now, which is good. Feels good. But yeah, if this candle doesn't close below, then we're gonna have to wait, unfortunately, for the 7 o'clock. If we do, then happy days. But we've got 50 seconds. Thanks for the subscription. Who we got in here today? We've got 8 people. No hellos. Who we got here today? What are you guys looking at? It's just my analysis. All analysis varies, right? I think we're going to close above here, which means no trade yet. No, so we've closed above on the 30-minute, which means the 1 hour is still open. So we'll be waiting for the 1 hour to close now as well, which is good, because then it gives us more confirmation. So yeah, we'll wait for that 1 hour to close. In the meantime, if anyone's got anything they want to discuss, questions, any charts, this is where the opportunity is to do so. Okay. Also, can anyone recommend a good website for the free YouTube Music, because I cannot remember the one I used to use, and it's bugging me. Bugging me like mad. But yeah, see, this is why you gotta wait for candles to close, and you gotta wait for candles to close below certain levels. Yeah, sorry I ain't got any music right now, that's a bit annoying. I did want some music. But yeah, where we'll sort of be paying attention for sales will be the breaks below 183, or if we come back to the 183 4-hour level resistance, this area here, and then we start to break down structure again on the lower time frames, and we start to break lower time frame structure, we can then potentially look at that as an option to target whatever it's been formed here, which is the lower time frame support, and then look to continue this move to this low would be the idea. Apart from that, I mean, for buys we clearly have to wait for at least 4 hours to close above, or some form of a structure on a 1 hour or 30-minute time frame above this level, so that I know, cool, 4 hours in theory should they therefore close above this level, and then we can look at targeting the 184. But we will not get continuation from that until we start to see dailies closing up and above the 184 200. Till then, we will not do it. Let's say, well, we spoke about this in the weekly outlook yesterday with the members, but pretty much if we get a daily candle that looks something like this, it looks really good for buys. However, we do have to be a little bit careful in the respect that we don't get something like this, because when you're in an uptrend, yet price is doing this sort of pullback, heavy choppy moves, you could easily see things like this, because we're still not yet continuing in a general movement. So we're not continuing down, otherwise we wouldn't see situations like this where we're pulling up to pull back, to pull up, to pull down, to put, do you know what I mean? We wouldn't be doing that. We would be clearly doing what we did to the left here, which is just daily candle creating structural changes on the lower time frames, and clearly all you have to do is just keep taking buys. But here, that we're not doing that from a downside point of view, is still very choppy, so we need pretty much to see further daily candles closing bearish, that clearly keep coming away from our area, and then we're going to get much cleaner selling opportunity to continue that move. Otherwise, it's probably likely that, because the problem is with this sort of price action on a daily standpoint, you can in theory get any time just dailies that just start to push back this way, because we're doing that in the market. With overall, we're still very much doing this. This is just this whole area here is just a pullback phase on a daily time frame that's building up a weeklies, that's just creating a bit of range, that's creating an overall monthly candle. and that's why we want to be careful. But there is just a lower time frame potential option for downside today, you know, but it's using lower time frames, and it's really only using and targeting what we had formed from last week, which is down here, because trying to sell beyond that is a big question mark. We don't really know yet. We've got one weekly candle that did clearly close below our area of weekly rejection, which was all coming from within here. However, we're very still much above this whole position of weekly resistance. So let me just do that in orange. It's a different color. We're clearly still above this whole area here, which is where we're gonna see we need to break through this on things like dailies, 4 hours. So basically, once we're below the 182.2, we're clean at that point, because right now we can still we know it's an area of potential. Why? Because of this. That's where we failed last week. Otherwise, why didn't Thursday daily, it clearly closed strong bearish, why did it not come all the way down here? Well, because this is still massively important from a weekly standpoint, which means that you can still have your weekly candle coming as low as it wants, but respecting that main range, and then doing something like this. Now, if you start to see that on a weekly, sells on a daily just make no sense whatsoever for that next week, or it's going to be very tough. So we could easily see something like this easily. So that's why we don't want to be caught out just purely looking for sells, because you're so focused on a daily time frame, right? And all you're doing is looking at the dailies, and you're like, oh well, daily's clearly breaking below this whole support, which means it sells. We're coming all the way back down to here. Well, it doesn't mean that yet, because we have basically pretty much all this structure within these areas is what created this whole upside move. So this area here created that to create that to break us out, right? So pretty much all in here is going to be very hard to sell, right? It's at these areas it's going to be hard to sell. We have opportunities to sell down to these areas to close that trade. Again, wait for downside pullback and then hit those areas, but that's it, because right now we pretty much can't say that we're going to end up all the way down here yet. It looks like we can, but we can't actually guarantee that right now. We can't say, yeah, that's what makes the most sense. It makes more sense because of the way that we did this, and we had our opportunity to close back above this level here. We had our opportunity there to try and continue out and see dailies starting to push up, but we didn't. We failed again. And then like I said last week, once we see dailies closing below 183, then we're going to have more opportunity for pullbacks and downside, because until then it's very hard to take sells. Even now, right, we've not even had our opportunity, but some might have thought, oh well, that last 30 minute, yeah, it didn't close below, but it's created resistance, we should continue. Not necessarily. We're not. This is where sells get a bit more. Sells can get tricky, right? Sells can get tricky at this stage. Now what did I say? Hour could still close bullish, respecting this higher structure. Which, if it does, then we are. That doesn't mean I'm going to buy it and that we're heading all the way back up to here, but it does mean that, it does mean that we're not going down yet. So ideally, wherever we pull back into here is fine. We just need to see it break down. Once we start to break this level, then we can clearly look to target what's to the left formed last week. But apart from that, I'll be sitting on my hands, because for buys, it just doesn't make sense right now. Longer term buys, you're not going to get until we start to get change in structure on things like 4 hours, and then we start to see daily candles closing bullish. But yeah, we don't want to overlook, yeah, because pretty much we said this from last week, but pretty much for between here and here is your zone. Yeah, that's pretty much your area that you're paying attention to, because pretty much everything coming back that way from an upside standpoint gave you the opportunity to push up. Then we had this little situation here where we created a range, a consolidation around that level, to which we broke up, failed, and then we started to break through. Now that we broke through, we've pulled back, but notice how, look, if this is our contention area, or our area of that we know that we need to pay attention to from a 4 hour, then pretty much what we're saying is this: now that we started to see things like this where we're closing back below this whole zone, we've clearly got a target that's formed outside of that area for the first time. Because this, in theory, yeah, you could argue is a target, yeah, maybe, but the fact of the matter is we just ranged and we respected this, so we weren't going down at that stage. But now we've clearly broken past that point. We've tapped our area of interest to the left, we've pulled back, and now we're starting to see a bit more downside again, lower time frame starting to break down, so we can clearly use this area as a target that's formed outside of this zone, and we're clearly seeing candles leave this area, so that gives us our opportunities on lower time frame. Okay, but yeah, I've done enough talking for a little minute. But yeah, you lot on YouTube are quiet today, not saying much. Is there anything that you're looking at? It'd be nice to get some music on, but I've truly forgotten what that website was called. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait. Sit on my hands and wait. But yeah, if we start breaking down 7 AM could give us a nice little push. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming on today, really appreciate that. Make sure you like the stream, and because obviously that's how we're going to get others to hear about it. But yeah, pretty much back on YouTube now, which is good, positive. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Got more sort of time to allocate to YouTube in the mornings, 6 to about 8 o'clock, 10 past 8. But yeah, no, it's good. It'd be nice to come back on. But yeah, it was a bit more of a more difficult commitment in the past, but now it should be good. So yeah, it'd be nice to grow the YouTube again, get some more people coming on. I feel like we could really help some people now. You know, there's a lot of styles of trading out there, unfortunately, that a lot of people don't quite understand. You know, we're having situations where pretty much most traders nowadays, they're trying to be funded as opposed to funding themselves, and they're obviously learning from people that trade their own money, and it doesn't always work with people that are trying to do funded challenges, you know, because the majority of people out there now are just trying to do funded challenges, which means, you know, that if you're following somebody that trades a certain way, that, you know, they're risking, let's say, more than they take in profit, just as an example, and that's not directed at anyone, but let's just say that's an example. That's not going to work as well for somebody who's trying to become funded, as opposed to somebody who trades their own live funds. They don't have to meet specific targets. They don't have to have specific drawdowns. They can just, do as they please essentially, and that may work for them, but it's not always going to. And I've kind of witnessing it as someone in the industry of seeing it, people failing things because of situations like this. And I'm not saying risk reward matters massively, because I don't personally think it matters massively, but you clearly don't want to have a situation where one loss can equal anything more than 3 or 4 wins, really. Otherwise you're just going to really limit your growth, because we're human, we're not robots, we make mistakes. We can get ourselves talked into analysis that might not even be your analysis. So this way you have to be careful, So that's what I'm saying. But yeah, if we start breaking down, you can pretty much target anything within this area here. So from around 840s, 820s down to all the way down to 770 would be a sensible target. But don't be greedy and thinking that you're going to get all the move all the way down to 500s, because we don't know that for sure yet. We can get that push all the way down to 500s, but when we're selling against trend, you want to use realistic targets, such as things like what was formed overnight. Let's clearly come back. We failed. If we break this structural position, it makes sense to come back down to our main area that we created the daily top wick with, and then you'll see a daily candle that is bearish. Now you can decide, once you see a daily candle that's starting to look like this, okay, maybe now I want to hold 25% to see if daily is going to continue that move all the way down to 500s. Very, very well could do, but it's not a guarantee, is it? Because this was Friday's low area here, which is higher than Thursday's low. So almost we need to see today's candle come to Friday's low, and then see that broken. Once you start to see that broken in candles on 30 minutes, etc., closing below that low, you can then say we're going to come down to Friday's low. That would make sense, but right now you can't say that yet. 9 minutes for this candle. We're not breaking down yet. YouTube, what are you lot saying? You lot are quiet today. I will wait for this count to close. If we cannot break down, then I'm going to go and make some drink. While we wait, let's have a little look at gold anyway. Gold's starting to break up, actually, to be fair. So, in fairness, right, we know that basically you've got all these wicks to the left, which means it could be a bit of a little spot, yeah? But in theory, if lower time frames, things like 30 minutes, are breaking outside that range, candles closing outside that come back and respect, you clearly then see that push to the 1933 for sure. Makes sense. Yeah, I think you could see a nice move on gold here, to be fair. It's different if you've got like just one 30-minute closing around this level, then obviously, yeah, then you could easily just see a heavy ass bearish candle that pulls back pretty deep. But at this stage here, you're clearly starting to break up at that point. On 30-minute, I think probably something like a little wick at 7 AM and starts to flip and break up. You could easily see a push coming up to that next 4-hour level. I think that makes a lot of sense, to be fair, from gold standpoint. Especially as really your whole rejection point on the 4-hour basically come from this area here. So you could even allow for 5-minute candles or something like that to pull back, create you that support, then you'll get that opportunity to continue that move on a lower time frame. So things like 5 minutes. Okay, that would be how I would play gold today. I think you need to still wait for that 30-minute, in my opinion, as opposed to the 15. 15 might look like it's going to give you a good option, but alright, I'm looking at GJ here now because we need to see this last 5-minute candle do a bit something, otherwise we ain't really going nowhere, are we? We ain't really going nowhere quick. We can still have this hour respecting that level to which we're not really trying to play with. You really want to, you could maybe have a sell stop around 182.980. Probably have a little sell stop there, 7 AM volume maybe, but it's gonna be better to wait for a closure. It's going to be much better to wait for a closure, to be honest. But we've only got 3 minutes to do so here. So we'll see. I'll try and get the music sorted out for tomorrow. But just for today, we're going to have to go without music. Yeah, not really continuing down yet. We've got 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. See if we can get the push. See what happens. Yeah, I'm not really sure we're going to get the closure here for 7. But yeah, what are you guys looking at? This is just my analysis. Don't encourage anyone to just copy. If you, oh, here we go. If you want an opportunity, then you need to try and learn, right? Okay, we could have our opportunity coming up here now. Well, my opportunity. It's not our opportunity, it's my opportunity. So yeah, if we close below here, then I think we should be good. Let's wait and see. You're gonna give me the closure. We have the 1 hour and the 30 hopefully closing in our direction. Oh, maybe not. This is going to come down to the last few seconds here to make sure that the candle closes outside of that range. Otherwise, did we close outside? Yeah, it looks like we just slightly closed below. So what I'm going to do is, if we flip on this candle, then we can have sales coming down. There we go. Okay, I did get in sales here, so let's see what happens. stops are going to be around 13 pips, and then yeah, target's going to be the, what did we say, the 800s pretty much, yeah, around the 800 level. We're all pushing up here. Ooh, she's pushing up. Yeah, it's already broke that 30-minute high already. Yeah, we could probably manage this trade if we start to break that previous hour high, to be fair. I ain't really trying to muck about with that. Probably close half off if we do that. Because this is, again, we're going against overall trend. So, but yeah, this is just my analysis, remember. I wanted to see hours, 30 minutes closing outside that range. It was a very weak closure. I think this is why we're getting this quite steep pullback straight away. But yeah, once that new candle created a top wick and then started to break down, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to get in at that point. But it is coming back at this point. But yeah, let's wait and see. Because it's quite a low risk trade. And obviously we do need more wick rejections to see price head into the downside, right? Because we're only like what, 4 or 5 pips drawdown is not really much to say that we're heading up, is it? It's just more pullbacks and wicks being formed on things like 30 minutes. But we got to keep an eye on it, because ultimately if things like 5 minutes start to close heavy back above 183, probably means we need a deeper pullback before things like open to, to potentially create steeper top wicks on things like 4 hours. So yeah, this is why. And plus, if you look at that candle, it's very weak. So I'm allowing for a little bit of this. But if we do start to break that previous hour, then clearly at that point we're going to have to be careful. So I'll manage a bit of the position there, just because if we're going against trend, we have to be a little bit more cautious. But when I mean against trend, I mean trend on a higher time frame. This is just a low time frame move at this point. So yeah, look, if we're coming up at this point, starting to break previous hour high. If we start to do so, then we can clearly manage that position, because then these wicks could just be upside pushes. So yeah, much better to be precautious with things like this. But it is only a few pips drawdown, but we know that, again, we did say hour could do a bit of a madness with that next candle, comes back up, we pull back to a much deeper area and then fail again. So this is why, if we're going to take this sort of selling opportunity, we need to be very careful. Now as it's broken that high, now it's just closed out 50% of the position to manage the risk on this trade. So if we do lose, it's going to be a lot less than we anticipated, because of, we can add that back on if we, let's say, re-break the low, because now we would have something like a top wick in this way. But yeah, this is not looking like it's playing out so far. But it's cool, it's a very, very small trade. Yeah, ideally wanted a nice win to start. Always want a nice win to start stream back, but if you take a loss, it is what it is, isn't it? But most of the time, you know, it's better to manage your risk. That's always the main thing. If you lose less than you were meant to lose, that is always going to be the main thing. You know, and actually you can still have this 30 closing bullish. It might close back inside the range, and then you can have 7 to 730 closing back outside the range, and then it'll be easy to add positions back on. But like right now, it is pretty tough. It's not really a good situation. But I personally think as well, it's not helped that we didn't really solidly close. I think if we saw a nice solid closure outside of that range, it would have been pretty easy. And we just know 7 AM always does this sort of thing, likes to pull back pretty hard, but sometimes it doesn't pull back at all, and you'll just get that continued push. This is why 7 AM, it's just one of them. Unless you're going to use like 1 minute or something really specific, it can be quite tough. But pretty much, as long as we respect this area, which is your resistance zone, just sort of creating the structural range, then we ain't going up yet. But you know, things like this can easily happen. But it's better to be a bit more cautionary going against trend. But I'll leave this to do its thing now. It's not even an issue. But just know, if this hour candle starts to break the previous, or breaking its previous low, I think at that point, like, sells are bang on, in my opinion. Just heavier pullbacks, you know. But yeah, I'd rather add the risk back on than have a whole position in drawdown where we could easily still see madnesses back to the upside. Which you said that, because we're going against the overall trend, which means that we don't need to use higher risk. We can use lower risk trades. It's more of a session scalp trade. It's not going to be a trade that we can hold for hours and hours or intraday. It's pretty much point to point trading, and that's it, because of what we said. But yeah, not really feeling this one, I can't lie, so far. But usually you have to sort of wait for the first 15s to close up on a 7 AM, and then you get a bit more direction. But yeah, you know, look at the 4 hour, like, it doesn't say anything about buys, does it? You know, so these are just one lower time frame candle, which is the problem about session trading, because you can always just get one candle that's gonna pull up pretty hard, and because as a session trader you have tight stops, it makes it that much harder. But you know, 7 AM might want to create a proper top wick for the 4 hour, because right now the only top wick we got was what is being formed at the moment. It was a very small hourly top wick. But you know, if this hour closes as is, it's clear change of structure on the hour, which actually means that there probably is a higher chance that we will come back to this main area. So that is why, for sells, got to be extremely careful and keeping an eye on this 15-minute candle, because if we clearly start closing up very strong, not respecting this level to the left, specifically this area here, then could easily see push up at this point. Yeah, new 5-minute candles sort of opened up already. But yeah, again, look, this could just be a pullback to your previous level of resistance, create further resistance, and then we continue the move. But no one wants to be holding fat drawdown when you see a candle like that. Just pull up straight after creating a little wick, pushing down, breaking the low, and then boom, straight back up. It's not an ideal scenario to be taking sells and holding that. But yeah, definitely manage this trade. In fact, I'm even looking at if this current 5-minute even just starts to re-break the highs here for the overall 30, probably closing out that trade, because then we won't have a 5-minute candle closing bearish, which is what we need. We need to start to see resistance forming on things like lower time frame. Otherwise, this is highly unlikely that we're going to continue that move. So we need to see that, and then if we get out on that, it's going to be like a 6 pip loss. So what is that really? Because we've only got half a position left running. So if I get a whole position out under 10 pips, then you know that's really like a good trade in terms of managing a losing trade. It's gonna be good. But yeah, like I said, unless we start to see 5 minutes closing strong bearish, it's gonna be a bit of a tricky one. See, like this candle's got a minute and a half. If it clearly can't give us the downside now, then you know it's very likely that we're going to come and hit stops. But right now, sells made more sense, right? Especially if we get a 5-minute candle does close bearish and then the next one just starts breaking up. It's not really a good situation. But yeah, see at this point here, let's close this position soon. So I'm not even trying to hold it like that. Yeah, we're not even seeing any 5-minute candles closing bearish here, which is not really a good situation. Yeah, so we got a weak 5-minute closure. So if the next one just starts pretty much breaking up above that, in fact, I'm going to bring my stops to the high of the current 30-minute candle. So if we break above the highs, I'm going to close that trade there. Pretty much, because it would not make sense to hold those buys at that point. So yeah, if we get stopped, we get stopped. But then we'll only have like a -6 pip loss, so we won't even be too bad. and I'm okay with that. Ooh, gold, no. Yeah, see, this is where, yeah, so I got taken out of the buy sells there. No more sells. Probably gonna wait after open, see if we can get a see if we can see something where we start to break up and then we fail heavy to the downside, something like that. Then we can, that's what I'm gonna wait for at this point now. Otherwise I'm not gonna touch it. But definitely selling in here is just tough, man. This is why I didn't really like to take sells, but I have to follow a plan. Because for minimum, I needed to see a daily closing below 183. Needed to start to see candles coming back to fail, close back below that zone. So ultimately, because if I'm honest, the move I wanted came in Asian, but we don't trade Asian, so I'm looking for that continuation in London. So probably gonna have to be wait for this hour to close as such, and then if we get this, let's say 9 o'clock, something like that, that will be the opportunity to take sales at that point. Apart from that, it's not really any good outcome here. Yeah, in terms of the loss, it was not even, it was about 6-7 pips, so really small loss. So we've done well managing risk to say we had a 13 pip stop loss. Now I don't usually like to close trades while they're open, but I knew that this was a little bit more of a riskier entry, but that's not a problem because we've done the right thing. When it becomes a little bit more risky, then you clearly need to be a bit more open to managing your risk. Because in theory, we probably want to be below this position. I think this is where we're having the issues. Pretty much at the 183 again, we're having the issues. So more than likely we're going to need to see, probably going to be easier once, see this is the thing, the 30-minute did not close below that 183, so it's probably going to be much safer once we actually see something closing below the 183, or even potentially like something like a 5-minute or something just closing below the 183, because as it stands we're just still respecting it, we're just still ranging above it. So I think that's kind of what's occurring here at the moment. But right, while I wait for this to do its thing, because right now, but it is rejecting that level. See, this is the thing about 7 AM. We can do this where we come all the way back, and now we're starting to push back down again. We're starting to create solid resistance on things like the 5. So yeah, in theory, yeah, look, now the 4 hours reflipped. Yeah, probably gonna wait. Could wait for this 30-minute. If this 30-minute closes bearish after doing this, right, and closes something like this, then I think you've got much easier clean sells to continue that move, without a doubt. If this 30-minute closes bullish, then you're probably going to want to see 8 o'clock closing you outside or something like that. But yeah, just gonna have to wait at this point. But one thing's for sure, yeah, the 7 AM pullback is a bit of a dead one. You know what I'm saying?
Morning, brother.
Morning, how's it going?
Good, you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Sorry, bro, I didn't wake up in time.
That's alright. It is Donald, isn't it?
Yeah, let me change the name. I
Oh, I
don't
was
know
gonna
why.
say. I was looking, I was like, who the hell is that?
Yeah, I don't know who used my Zoom, but let's change the name.
That's alright, bro.
Just give me a second. How the heck? Okay. Yeah, now we're good.
Alright, cool, bro. How are you? You sound tired.
Yeah, I'm really tired, bro. It's getting really shitty today. I can't get enough sleep, though.
Hear that one, bro. Hear that one, mate. Yeah, I was pretty tired myself this morning. It's always the worst here when you're in like a deep sleep and then the alarm goes off, you feel way more tired than if you're like
Yeah.
awake.
I don't understand this Zoom, though. Trying to.
I swear that if this 7 AM does this push, I'll be pretty pissed. Because the way it was looking like it was just going to smash up.
Are you in a trade?
So I was in a sell, but I tried to be a little bit more cautious with this trade because I was like, we can still get pretty heavier pullback on the upside. So plus the 4 hour had very little top wick, so I was like, okay, you know, I can have stops above the range, but I need to be careful that we don't obviously get candles that smash out to fake and then continue back that way, because then what's the point selling there? So obviously I think at this point now I'm gonna have to wait to see how this 30 closes. If it clearly closes bearish down here, then damn right, then you can give that trade a proper chance this time. But to be honest, I got out of like -5 pips, so it's not even too deep. Fact of the matter was, it just the way it came up, managed risk, and then decided to close all because we just weren't creating resistance on the 5. But now we are, so I'm it's much easier now to look for a position. But I think I probably should have waited. Well, it wasn't that. I saw the 30 just slightly close below the range. I was like, okay, but really it's always good to see it close properly outside the zone. Then you don't even need to wait really for a top wick. But I waited for a little top wick. It was just unfortunate it kind of flipped early and then reflipped again and then came all the way back, which it does do that. Can do that. But usually you see a push at 7 or a retracement, so you don't really know which one it's going to be. Because sometimes 7 can just give you that little wick and then it's gone through the screen.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is why I had to wait. But now, if this last 5 minutes gives you the push, closes below 183, then you know sells are clearly on. You know, then you can use this as a stop. Or if this 30 closes bullish, as is now, clearly if the next 30 then breaks down, we've got that top wick, 4 hours, everything that makes more sense, and you're just going to get cleaner options for sells. But I think if this 30 closes bearish, then this hour's gone. This hour's just created a mad top wick to smash down, to be honest. So we weren't wrong, just maybe a tad early, and that's fine. I'd rather just manage that, wait for this 30 to close up, and then we can get probably an easier second option, to be honest. But I'll definitely wait for this 30 to close, in my opinion, because you never know, this could just smash all the way back up again. You know, while the last 5 minutes, don't want to muck about.
Yeah, I'm looking at gold.
Yeah, gold did a bit of a mad one. I actually thought it was going to head up. I didn't take any trades, but I was thought to myself, okay, if the 30 closed above, and then you start to get things like 5 minutes giving you support, like for example now, let's say this next 5 minute creates that little wick, closes up and above this level
It
here.
might give a push.
Yeah, you could probably see a decent little push there. Yeah, true. No doubt. I think that could be on the cards. And you know, for GJ, similar sort of thing. You once you start to see 5 minute candles clearly closing below there, I think buys, sorry, not buys, sells would be pretty good at that point. But look at this situation. You got 3 minutes, candles just flipping to go bullet it. You know, just gotta wait for that closure. But understand one thing though. Realistically, we should have already been in sells, and I'll admit this, right? I'll admit we should have already been in sells way down over here, okay? But I don't trade Asian, you know. I need time to sleep, so I cannot, you know. So if I'm come to the market and I'm down here in a range, well, the idea is still to get to this area, even if it's from here. If it's from here, the idea is to come down to this area. But the fact of the matter is, we clearly now have to wait for a bit more clarity on a lower time frame to close us properly outside this range. Now look what the 30's doing. If you re-entered in on the flip, it's got hammering right now, back in drawdown. So it's not really what you want to do. It's different once you see the candle close outside first, this one here, and then you see a little wick. Now you could give that initial chance a shot. Thing is, if I was still holding this trade, this wouldn't be a candle that would make me want to close the trade. But I just being very aware that if we respect this position, right? Just understand this: if we respect this position, then hours creating a new structure. If 8 AM and all this starts to break this way, it's very likely that we're going to come all the way back to this area here. Now this is where you might then get the fail and break back down again. But you know, if you look at the structure, look what we do every time we create new, you know, higher structure supports on the hour. Situations like this, we come up, pull back, we clearly respect that hour structure. Once we start to see candles closing above, you get some form of a push of upside. Similar to this situation here, we come up, create this structural hour support, see candles close up and above, clearly coming back that way. So with this situation, I knew it was going to be a little bit more tricky, but we're obviously just trying to follow a specific plan and bias, because if you look at the daily, there's no buys right now. There is smaller, lower time frame options to take sells, but we've just said like it's pretty tough right now. We, you know, because of XYZ. You know, you got 1 minute for this candle to close, and it's, you know, it's doing what it's doing. You know, sells do make more sense right now. There's no doubt. Sells do make more sense. But I think where we're having a little bit of issue is coming from this little area here we've got to the left. So probably once we see candles clearly outside there, that downside should be on. But yeah, if you look at that 30 minute, it engulfed the previous, but it did close very weak in comparison. So yeah, I'm personally going to wait to see how the next 30 minute closes. So wait and see. Leading into open. Because then we clearly have an hourly candle closure at that point to see how, if we're going to do this on the hour, then it's pretty obvious open should continue that move. Otherwise, if we got something like this for the hour, where the 1 hour candle is clearly closing up and above there, I'm not saying that's necessarily right buys are on, but we're clearly not going down at that point. Clear change of structure on the 1 hour time frame, probably a little opportunity to continue back this way, but to be honest, that's not really going to be my trade right now, because buys just don't make sense at the moment because of what we're doing at the moment. Okay, you know, if I get a daily candle that clearly closes me back above to, sort of 183,300, and then the next day creates me a structural support higher than wherever we do this, then I can use that as potential opportunity. Okay, right, I'm gonna go make a drink and that before we wait, because we've got to yeah, we've got half an hour till the stream's done and see if we get any other entry, but yeah, pretty much yeah, just wait and see. So I'll be back in 5-10 minutes. So yeah, I'll see you in a minute, guys. Won't be long.
Okay, brother. See you.
See you in a sec. Hello, hello, we're back. Yeah, we've got our resistance forming below that level now. But because it's a bit far down, I'm going to have to wait for this 30 to close. If it runs, then all I can say is you had to just basically hold that trade with stops above the range. But it's not really an ideal situation, I don't think, personally. I'd rather wait to see this 30 close up, and then it should give us an opportunity to take sales and then continue down to this level, 182.830. That's what I'm looking at. You alright, Donald? In that case, I might as well end it now and restart it. So target looking like. Okay. Yeah, as long as we don't really break any lower, we've got enough room to continue down. We've got enough range. We're clean on the hour, which is good. See, this is what we was expecting from a 4 hours standpoint. But yeah, we are going to need to probably see. I think it's going to be more sensible to see this 30 close in the end, because 5 minutes starting to pull back. 15, could have gotten up to 15. It's not a bad shout. But yeah, I think just to wait for open more than likely is going to be the sensible option. But yeah, we'll call it a day at 8 o'clock anyway. We'll see if we can get the option. I'm going to end the stream. But pretty much the analysis was on point. Well, once we get down to 800s, analysis would be on point. We spoke about, obviously, we need to see a break of this range to the lows. We can come down to 800s, 4 hour candles. We spoke about the higher time frames. But yeah, it just looks like the 7 AM was a bit more of a deeper pullback, which could have allowed for, to be fair. I think just being a Monday, taking sells, it's not. It's still tough. That's why we're not seeing that next counter breaking that low and all the way down here, because we're still in a tough area, and we've got to get through this, which is why we're getting this little bit of a pullback, which should get broken for open. So that's why waiting to see around open if we can get that opportunity. Can have stops above the hour and pretty much can target all the way down to 770s. And then if we do get that volume and we do continue, like I say, we've got you've got room down to 500s, but that's your call whether you want to play that game thinking we're going to get all the way down there. And then this is where waiting for 30 is the sensible option, based on the fact that if you look at this 5 minute, you've only got one more 5 minute push you straight back into that range above 183. 1 hour's not closing bearish, and 30 minute ain't closing bearish either. That is where you wish you'd waited for the closure. So very, very important. But yeah, we've got 5 minutes left, so I'll just say thanks to everyone obviously for coming on today. Yeah, we'll obviously be on the rest of the week and all that, which is good. But yeah, no, only we had a small little loss on stream, nothing major, 6 pips. But yeah, I think we were good managing risk, because we still got really no clarity to say we're going to come down until this candle closes outside the range. We got a 15, pretty good. Can we get that confirmed with lower time frame? We started to have 5 minutes closing bearish, but you can see the next one's pulled up pretty heavy. It's closed above the previous. So if this last 5 does give you that push back to the upside, then this is where it all becomes a bit tough. But yeah, I think we've done the right thing. Just being a bit more cautious. But I think, you know, let's say this same scenario. I'll tell you the difference. Ciao Bano. What does that mean? God, that was random, Donald.
Oh, I'm sorry, bro. I wasn't in mute.
Oh,
sorry,
no worries, no worries.
I was talking.
It just made me laugh. Just out of nowhere, I just said Ciao Bano. I was like, oh, Ciao Bano to you.
Yeah, no, sorry, bro.
No, you're good. Yeah, so pretty much as I was saying, let's say the same scenario was happening, but we're seeing real trending on the dailies, and we're really starting to break down. This becomes very easy to take sells in that way now, you know. But we're not in that move. This is why you're going to get these situations, and it's very likely you could have got stopped out there, and then price still continued. So it is always sensible to manage risk. I mean, to have a -6 pip loss to then come on and go and win 16 over losing 13 to win 16 is always going to be better. You know, if you're going to take that little bit of an early entry in a session when you know 4 hours not giving you the best best top wick yet and things of this nature, then yeah, it makes more sense to really see, you know, better confirmation. But you know, we gave it a shot. It made a little top wick. We started to break the low, so we gave it a shot. It pulled back up, which is why we managed risk, and it's much easier to get out with anything under 10 pips. You know, is going to be for a loss a really good situation to have all your winners pretty much double that. It's going to be good because a lot of my wins become between anywhere from around 10 all the way up to 30-40 pips. So if I can have a couple losses around 6 pips, it's not that bad if I come along and go smash 20 on a winner. You know, we talk about risk reward, but I'm not saying that means, oh, I have this specific risk reward, because I don't. I just use specific targets, but I'm very aware of when's good to manage risk and when's, you know. But yeah, 30 is closing strong, which is what we want. Hour closing strong is what we want. Obviously, we don't want it to run away from us the last 2 minutes, but we would like to at least see this closing good. Ooh, this could run away from us now. Should see a little pullback last 2 minutes, but pretty happy with this. If we begin to, yeah, target becomes a little bit more limited at this point, but you've still got probably 12 with spread. It's not bad. Might get a bit of a pullback here for the closure, so yeah, we'll see. And then unfortunately I'm gonna have to end the stream. But Donald, just to let you know, I cancelled my pro Zoom thing because I just getting, yeah, it's just a bit of a waste because it, you know. But yeah, the meeting's gonna end in 2.5 minutes, so
okay.
Yeah, because I'm only using the free version at the minute. I think once eventually we have like a big group of people, like massive, then I'll go back to the pro. But I was basically just paying for the monthly just for no reason, pretty much.
Yeah, no worries.
So yeah. But yeah, if it cuts out, bro, I'll
you know the reason, right?
yeah. But we'll chat in Slack anyway.
Yeah, no worries. I'll be there.
We'll chat in the Slack.
Ooh, it's pushing.
Yeah, it's pushing. We'll probably get open, just continue that move at this point, I reckon. But if we get a little retracement, we'll be better for the open candle, most definitely. But yeah, it's going to be much better to see this 30-minute clearly closing outside the range. And then we want to see if we can get that continuation with the new hour candle at open. Will be best case scenario. So yeah, let's wait and see. Yeah, open should give us the push we want. Little top wick, and then I think we should continue down. Well, because we've got to make a new top wick for the hour, but we should make that top wick, and then we should continue down to 800s ish. But he's pushing up pretty hard for. But yeah, it needs to make that new hourly top wick, and then we should fill this down. But yeah, once you start to see 5 minutes clearly giving you bearish candles, then it's pretty decent at that point. But yeah, I've given this trade a shot. But YouTube, for me, I'm going to call it a day here. You know my analysis, pretty much the same idea from over here. Obviously, if you already held the same trade as me from over here, then this becomes a lot easier, doesn't it? Because you're already in profit. It could potentially pull back your entry, but that's fine. And you're just looking for that continued push down to around, yeah, anywhere between 820, 770, 780s is going to be your ideal target situation. All right. But yeah, anyway, YouTube, have a good rest of your day. I'm going to end the stream. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Yeah, like I say, enjoy the rest of your day. See everyone tomorrow. Thanks for coming on. Make sure you like the stream so we can get everybody to see that we're back now. We're back live. But yeah, we should get some continued downside here in this new hour candle. Might just pull up a little bit, but as long as we don't exceed the current 4-hour high, it's pretty much bang on that we're gonna continue this move overall on the daily. But just be very aware though that if we do start to see heavy pushes back up, then just be very careful. But yeah, I think for the minute it's just creating top wicks, pulling back a little bit. But yeah, it's open, so it can do that. But yeah, all right guys, enjoy the rest of your trading day. Thank you for coming, thanks for watching, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. Hopefully we get some cleaner price action tomorrow, because yeah, today was a little bit dead so far. Not really much going on. Overall it's pretty dead, isn't it? We want to see moves continuing. We want to see big ass candles. We want to see continued moves at the end of the day. But yeah, thanks YouTube, take care.